Nick Walker eyes the 2021 Mr. Olympia. And we're back, guys, for another edition of This Week in Bodybuilding, brought to you courtesy of TitanMedicalCenter.com, hosted by yours truly, Christian Duke. Remember, guys, if you want great therapies like TRT, Nectar of the Gods, Titan Complete, Titan's got you covered, as well as a new ECA Plus stack that's got the whole fitness industry talking. Guys, Nick Walker has had one heck of a 2021, winning the third biggest bodybuilding show in the New York Pro, the former NOC, now winning the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic, the second biggest bodybuilding show, going into the 2021 Mr. Olympia. I mean, guys, anything is possible at this point. Nick is saying that he hopes for a top 4 finish, but he also says he can stand up next to anyone. And I think that confidence is great. Now, Ian Valliere took second place. What did I say about Ian before the Arnold Classic? I said, this guy could be dangerous. The media ignores him, but I don't ignore him. And he was. I mean, he nearly won the show. It was so damn close. Ian was on point. Steve Kukla looked really good. Justin Rodriguez looked great. Akeem Williams looked good. Sergio Oliva Jr. looked good. And I say look good. There's people that think these guys should have won. I mean, I say good. Everybody looked good. Nick looked good. I mean, it's just, the Arnold Classic, $130,000 check, the bragging rights second biggest bodybuilding show, the namesake of probably the most popular bodybuilder that has ever lived, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And of course, a lot of people came out and took shots. Barry DeMay took some shots at Nick's veins. I mean, I don't know, I know Arnold was also a little salty, and I know years past, some of the older champions are, the aesthetics were better then, or the cuts were better then, or these guys are getting too big. It's always something, but the bottom line is that Nick deserved to win. Nick's got so much self-confidence going into the Mr. Olympia. And again, Big Ramy, a fantastic guy, a great person. But it took him, 6, 7, 8 times to really tie it all together to win his first Sandow. To just assume that he can just do it again the next following year is a gamble, guys. I feel that if Big Ramy were to come in a little bit off, open the door ever so slightly, it could allow Nick Walker to come in. Hadi Choopan, People's Champion, right? Ruli Winkler, past People's Champion. I don't think anybody's going to deny the fact that Nick Walker will be the 2021 Mr. Olympia People's Champion. So you've got all this hype, winning the New York Pro, winning the Arnold Classic, going into the Olympia. Fans are going nuts. If this guy is in the top 3, or if he's in the top 2, standing there next to Big Ramy, and the guy is even slightly off, I don't know. I mean, you've got that whole thing about you got to knock out the Mr. Olympia, but on the other hand, you want to make the fans happy. I'm not suggesting that either or affects the scorecards, but again, the judges are only human, right? And maybe Nick doesn't even need Big Ramy to be off. If Nick just gets better and better. I mean, Big Ramy's calling card is size and symmetry. Size and condition. But really it's size. I mean, the last year he really nailed that condition, but I just don't know if he can do that, back-to-back years. I don't know. And again, we go back to the whole discussion of, the Mr. Olympia only competing in one show for the whole year. Does that help him or hurt him? Nick Walker's already competed a few times, and look how he's done at the third and second biggest bodybuilding shows. You know what I mean? So, and also the Arnold Classic historically is an early spring show. It's the first show of the season, and it kind of creates some buzz all the way into summer. But now, being 2 weeks out from the Olympia, whoever wins the Olympia, even if it's not Nick Walker, that person's going to have to share the spotlight with the Arnold champion at least into the new year, because of the fact that the second and first biggest shows happen so close to one another. But that being said, it's almost as if winning the Arnold will command the conversation leading into the Olympia. I don't think at this point in time, whether we're talking message boards or Facebook groups or even guys at the gym, I don't think that you can exclude Nick Walker from talk of the top 3 at the Mr. Olympia because of winning that Arnold Classic. I mean, that's a really, really big deal. And in a way, it's going to, upstage guys like Mr. Olympia Brandon Curry, last year's People's Champion Hadi Choopan, and Akeem Williams, last year's top 6. William Bonac, who was denied the opportunity to compete at the Arnold because of the whole COVID restrictions, international travel and whatnot. And the crazy thing is that William Bonac was my pick to win the Arnold, but I'm thinking the best Bonac in my mind, and then I compare it to what Nick brought, and I can't tell you hands down that Nick would have beat Bonac. I mean, that's how good Nick was. Ian Valère, again, looked absolutely fantastic, and I have got to stress that I was probably the only person that I can think of that actually went on record and said, you guys have got to be careful with Ian. This is a very dangerous bodybuilder that's always overlooked by the media, and he almost won the Arnold Classic. There are a lot of people that believe that Ian won the Arnold Classic. Same with Sergio Oliva Jr., and I've heard it said about Steve Kukla, and I've heard it said about Akeem Williams, and a lot of people are also very impressed with Justin Rodriguez. It was a very, very deep lineup that Nick won. So, again, it's one of those things where got $130,000 on the line, you got the bragging rights, you got Arnold Schwarzenegger there, the namesake of the show. That's a really big deal. So if Nick Walker could, Nick and Matt, we can't forget Matt, because, the coach is so important to the whole equation. They've been successful at the New York Pro, successful at the Arnold. I mean, it's almost like they're a runaway train at this point. It's like they're unstoppable. And I just do not believe that Big Ramy has achieved a level of dominance of a Phil Heath, of a Ronnie Coleman, of a Jay Cutler in their prime. He's a single title champion who's had a history of not being able to hit the mark. I hope that he does, but the math is not in his favor. And, as a result, I'm sure I will earn the scorn of Dennis James and a whole bunch of people. But the reality of the matter is that math is not on his side. So we will see what he can do. But I tell you, one guy that's not ignoring Nick Walker, that's Big Ramy. So it's going to be very exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in Orlando, Florida. Big thank you to my good friend Dan Solomon for hooking me up with press passes at the 11th hour. Be sure to check out Titan Medical at the Olympia. It will be a Titan takeover, and I will see you there.